Hello and welcome to the channel. I'm Cindy Daychuk with Queen Bee Creations and I'm thrilled that you're joining me here today. If you like what you see, I invite you to subscribe. There are well over 100 and I don't know how many more videos. There's tons of other videos for you to be able to catch up on and watch. And I try and give you at least 2 a week, Mondays and Fridays. And you never know. You never know what I'm doing, most because I never know what I'm doing. Today, so here's where and how my mind works. I have this chair part. So I took it apart for the spindles because it was all broken. So you can see that here's where the spindles for the chair back went. And I've cut off the dowel part that stuck down into the seat. But I like this shape and I thought it would be cool for a craft. So I've been kind of thinking about what kind of craft I could do. And I've come up with one. I don't know how it's going to turn out. It looks super cool in my head. So we'll see. We'll see how it turns out. But I have this, and I got my husband to cut, just because he was here, this little brace part. So I am going to do 2 things. I'm going to nail these together, so shoot a couple of nails up into it. And then I am going to, because this is a little bit angled, I'm going to wood fill the gap in there because I have to wood fill most of the holes. I'm going to leave the center hole because I'm going to have to drill up there anyway because I need to hang stuff. So I'm going to get that part done because I need to get all those holes done and sanded before I can get this painted out. And this is the only part of our project that's going to get painted. Once it's painted and sealed, then we can carry on. And I'm not going to tell you what we're doing, but it involves some of the leftover driftwood that I have from doing some of our Driftwood Decor video earlier. So I'm playing, and you get to come with me. So I'm going to go nail this together and wood fill, and then you're all caught up. Okay, fingers crossed on this one, guys. Okay, so a couple of things have happened since I last saw you. I filled those holes in the top and they've been sanded smooth. So you can see these holes here. The one in the center, and I also filled a little bit around here. So this has been screwed in place and I just kind of sanded the corners a little bit rounded just so they weren't so square. And the other thing that I did do was I drilled, so using this bit, there you can see against my t-shirt better, up into the existing chair rail hole, right? And through here, because this is going to be my hanging hole. So it didn't make sense to fill it and then drill all the way through. There was already a partial hole and it looks a little bit better than if I drilled it, and it just made it easier for me because it was less wood to go through. And this chair, really, really hard wood. It took a lot of pressure to be able to get that one, going. So the job right now, before we move on, is to get this painted. So I want to get it painted and I want to get it sealed. And I am going to use Apothecary by DIY. I just want to get a nice kind of soft, sort of pale green, a little bit of a beachy feel, because I am going to be adding some other kind of natural elements to this, and I think that the Apothecary will go perfectly. So I'm going to get this painted, and I'm thinking 2 coats because I got to cover over my wood fill and just get that evened out. So I'm going to get that painted and then See how nice that color is going to be? So we'll get this painted and then I'll come back at you. Part. Right now, I'm loving how this looks. It's almost like a big bird cage, right? It's got that kind of arch shape. And I'm just excited to be using this kind of heart back, chair back for something. It's been sitting here for a little bit waiting for an idea to blossom in my brain. Now that our paint is dry, the next step is to apply the white wax. This is going to kind of soften the look, and it's going to also seal the paint. And really, I'm just going to brush this on everywhere, and then I'm going to wipe it down entirely. So I just want it drifting across. And ultimately, I mean, the wax is going to dry. But while it's doing that, I can get on with the rest of the project. So it just means getting all of this on, wiping it down, and setting it off to the side while we work on what's going to be hanging in the center of it. Now, what I do have is a series of driftwood pieces that are kind of in graduated sizes. So there's 5 in total. And I'm going to be suspending them from the frame. And what I need to do that is I need to have 2 holes drilled on either end of each of these pieces. I think I have a drill bit that's big enough for my cord to go through. But I'm going to drill 1 hole and check, and then see if I've got a bigger drill bit, if not. But I'm looking at 1 hole kind of on either end. And the nice thing about driftwood is that there's nothing to it. So definitely things go through it pretty easily. All right, I just have to kind of twist this because it wants to unravel. And I think I just need a little bit bigger. Okay, let me go check again. And then I'm just going to be drilling my 2 holes in each end so that we can ultimately assemble. All right. Now that my holes are drilled, I think it will be easiest to get the wood pieces tied off before I look to try and decorate these. Just because I think that flipping them over, tying knots, all that kind of stuff, are going to knock things askew. So this is my big piece. And ultimately, I think that's a big enough loop. So I need this knotted to prevent it from going up through the big hole that we drilled in the top of our frame. So we've got that knot, and then each of the other pieces. So we've got our frame, and then each of the other pieces are going to hang out in that frame. So if that's the top, I just want to see distance-wise, right, where I need to be tying these suckers off, because they have to all hang within my frame. Okay, so if we say, I just want to measure, and then I'll be able to have an idea of where to tie this off. So that's at 4. That gets tied off just below 4 inches. Okay. Yeesh. Math again. It's like crafting and math. All right, so much easier, these holes. Now you could use any kind of cord for this. you know, you could use a chain if you wanted. Just because I'm doing this on driftwood, I mean, you could do it on little planks. You could use, what would be a cheap and expensive thing? Paint stir sticks cut down to size. You could use, I mean, really, whatever you've got. I've got a lake fairly close by, and I had extra driftwood from another project that I had done with you guys doing the Driftwood Decor. So I just decided to use that. Okay. So this is where I want to tie this one off. And I'm just going to need a single knot here. The trick will be tying my knots even. I think. So that when it hangs, it's not all lopsided. Aesthetically, it will look better if they're nice and straight. Okay, this is the process I'm going to use for all 5 of my pieces, doing them in graduated sizes all the way down. I'm just going to kind of measure off, try and keep it sort of even, and I'm just going to keep always adding it to my frame, making sure that wherever I'm actually tying the knots, that it's ultimately going to work within the frame. I don't want it hanging longer than the frame. I want this to all sit inside of and within the frame. So it all comes up to that top knot and where I need the next one to be. Alrighty, I'll come back at you once all this is tied off, and then we can start the zhuzhing, start the decorating. That'll be the fun part. Okay, I have this all tied off. For those of you that are really paying attention, you'll notice I switched cords. The other cord that I had was too stiff, so that this wasn't hanging nicely. Luckily, I switched it out after only tying off 2 of them, cut it off, and I got a softer cord. There's not a lot of weight to this. The driftwood is super light, and so I needed a cord that was softer, that it looked like there was some weight and heft to it. Now, the next part is really creating kind of a vignette on here. What I have are, I bought a couple of pots from the dollar store that have kind of faux succulents in it, and I am just popping them, pulling them, making it sound easier than it is, out of this base. They're glued in pretty firm, actually. Oh, okay. Some of them come with a lot of base. Just pop all that off. One more. Yay, okay. So I have a bunch of the faux succulents, and I'm going to glue some of those on. I had some solo wood flowers, the mini ones, but I think that they might be a little bit bigger than I want. In which case, I do have this spray of natural kind of leaves and flowers in a very neutral tone that will go with the driftwood. And then I have some little moss. And all that I'm gonna do now is kind of arrange it in a way that, you know, kind of makes sense. And I'm gonna be gluing them in place. And just as I'm doing this, I'm realizing hanging this makes my life a lot easier to just kind of see looks, right? Getting the different looks. Some of these bottom stems I'm gonna have to cut off But yeah, I'm just kind of wondering if I put it in my hanger, if I put it in my frame, if my frame can kind of stand up, and I can kind of maybe glue them in place. There will be a right way and a wrong way to this. Okay, so this is going to work well for me in terms of just kind of getting the look of it. I just need something heavy. Jenga blocks to the rescue to kind of prop my frame up against. Okay, more Jenga blocks to the rescue. Still not heavy enough. Okay. It's that swing in action. All right, so I'm just going to prop things behind it. And really what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of start taking a look at the layout of this and start gluing some of my pieces into place. I just want to do a quick check on some of the big ones, just how I'm going to nestle them in, but also, you know, there's some that are kind of similar colors, and then I want to vary them. I don't want them all together, and some of them I'll be cutting down the stems and, you know, that kind of thing. So now it's just playing and gluing. I ended up electing not to add any florals, not to add any of the wood flowers, and not to add any of the moss. The 3 pots of succulents that I bought just seemed to be the perfect amount, and I just like the look of it with just the succulents. So this is our finished wall hanging. And I'm loving the fact that it looks pretty much like what I kind of had in my mind. So that's a nice switch for me. I've got a little bit of glue to clean up here and there, but yeah, just something kind of fun, something fresh, something different hanging on a wall. I've got the loop to be able to hang it from if people want, but they can hang it from the frame itself, no problem. I'm just holding it still here. Obviously, when you hang it against a wall or a window, it's gonna stay flat. Right now, it just likes to spin a little bit, but that won't be a problem once it's kind of in place and kind of different. Let me know what you guys think. You know, as always, love to hear from you, and I'm open to improvement suggestions, but something different, that's for sure. Let me know, guys. Love it when you send me some comments, and you know, apart from that, I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Take care, guys.